Frank Klose of 97.3 ESPN.com, Philadelphia.com. Good times for all, Frank. When the baseball team's good, it boosts morale, right?
Sure does.
Well, let me get your thought on what are some of the reasons why this team is 2 games over 500. And first off, I guess they just swept the Nationals, and they did it with King. Is that the core reason why this team is where they are right now?
Yeah, it all comes down to the starting pitching. Now, if you think back to a year ago when the opening starting rotation had the likes of Sean O'Sullivan and David Buchanan, and then Severino Gonzalez was rushed to the major leagues and around for a long time. This is one stable rotation, and Phillies may not be a championship contender, but at least this starting rotation is going to create some sense of stability for this team.
Yeah, and I had mentioned before, if they can be a team that wins in like the 75 win range, that means they had an exceptional year. Do they have the offense to make you think that they can be around that number?
Right now, I would take them about 75-ish. What we don't know what's going to happen is we do not know yet if Jeremy Huxton perhaps will get himself traded, which would create a little bit of a drop-off. The offense is probably going to struggle. I don't think they're going to dip down to the minor leagues for the likes of Nick Williams or J.P. Crawford anytime soon. So chances are they're going to level out a little bit, and it would be a good thing for the team long term if they can trade Jeremy Huxton. But on the short term, they'll probably suffer a little bit.
Yeah, and Jeremy Huxton at the top of that rotation has been very good. We saw Aaron Nola the other night throw very well. We know Velasquez has been good. Eichhoff has, been exciting at times. But tonight, Morgan is going to throw against Cleveland. He'll take the rotation spot of Charlie Morton. And, Morton just 4 starts, but is this a big loss, or do you think Morgan can come in here and really keep that spot stabilized?
In terms of how Morgan is going to pitch in relation to how Morton pitched so far, I think you're going to see a similar output. I think where it really hurts the team is, one, they lose a potential trade chip in Morton down the line. If he had pitched well, they might have been able to trade him in July. And then the other negative effect is, up until this point, the Phillies always had that safety of Adam Morgan being in AAA in case they need him in a pinch. Well, guess what? Now he's up, and they no longer have an arm at AAA that they can grab and slot right in. So the depth takes a hit. Potential trade chip takes a hit. But in terms of output from the pitching, of Morgan versus Morton, I think they're going to be kind of similar.
Jeanmar Gomez tossed a scoreless 9th inning last night. It's his 7th save of the season. Only Dave Robertson and Kenley Jensen have more saves than Gomez, who I'm not sure many Philly fans had even heard of him when they entered the season. He doesn't fit the mold of a typical closer, but 1.93 ERA, 11 strikeouts over 14 innings. Has he made you feel that he is maybe not long-term, but is he the guy? Is he have closer stuff to you?
Well, I think what it could mean is he could pitch himself out of town down by the trade deadline. But in terms of Gomez, what I like about Gomez is he's very level-headed. He's very consistent. He's not the type of pitcher that's, there tends to be this mold for a closer that the guy has to come in and throw 100 miles an hour and just blow everybody away. Now, often those types of pitchers fit into that role because they can come in, get a few strikeouts, and that's it. But Gomez is very level-headed. If he gets a runner or two on, he doesn't panic. He really is a steady force. And if you look throughout his career, he's averaged maybe giving up one run every 3rd inning. And you know what? If the Phillies are going to have a lot of close games, the games that they win are going to be 3-run leads or less, and that leads to a lot of save opportunities. So Gomez might be the type of guy that racks up a bunch of saves, and then come the trade deadline when a team that's in contention is struggling in the bullpen, the Phillies might be really lucky to get something back in return for him.
Yeah, and, he's at the back end of a bullpen that is typically going to be called on. You wonder how much workload he's going to be able to handle. They went to him, 3 straight nights in that Washington series?
Yeah, so, it's really easy to rack up saves if but you're playing the Nationals and you only have small leads. But, at some point they're going to have to In fact, I would be surprised if he was available tonight after pitching that one. But yeah, you got to watch his workload. I mean, last year he pitched a lot, but it was often multiple inning outings. So maybe even the lack of innings on his arm will help him for the long stretch. But if you look at his career, he's used to pitching a lot of games. He pitched 5 for the Phillies last year, so he was in there a lot, 74 innings total. So usually now he's just pitching 1 inning at a time. So hopefully he can pitch a few days in a row. I think tonight would be a night that he gets off.
Yeah, what about you look at guys who are also stand here a little bit, and on the offensive side, which we haven't talked a whole heck of a lot about because there has too many of them, but Odubel Herrera and Franco, both those guys seem like they have turned the corner a little bit, especially Franco. He got really hot in that Brewer series.
Yeah, Franco's coming around. The common theme I keep coming back to with Franco is, well, how is he going to make adjustments to him? So early on, it looked like, he couldn't find his comfort zone, and I think he's coming around. I think he's showing that he can indeed make those adjustments when pitchers adjust to him. And if you look at his last 7 games, he's hitting .321. So, but in his last 15, he's hitting .237. So you could tell that he had a little dip there, and he seems to be figuring it out just fine, and that's a very, very positive sign. Now, you mentioned Herrera. The one thing I thought about him coming into the season was like, all right, he's going to swing a lot, he's going to make a lot of contact, he's going to get a lot of hits this way. But man, the fact that he's walking, he's really made some incredible adjustments that were well beyond my expectations. He's on pace to set to be among some of the all-time greats like Bonds and Ruth and McGuire in terms of walks for the season. Of course, he probably will not maintain that number throughout the season, but still, it's a very remarkable turnaround for him, who's for somebody who used to be a very free swinger, to be able to take these walks and get on base and then sets him up to steal a couple bases. That's a tremendous thing to have at the front of your lineup, especially when you got Maikel Franco a couple batters behind you.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up the walks because I think that has been pretty impressive. In fact, I think he's like in the top 3 in the league with walks. So he's got more walks almost this year than he had all of last year. Any update on Cody Ashe?
We still haven't really heard much about him. He wasn't expected to swing until some point in May. The really annoying thing that comes with an oblique injury is you just need to sit and wait and let it heal. And part of the reason why he's still out is because he didn't wait long enough the first time. So I think they're going to try to be patient with him. A team like this, even though they're really kind of struggling and having him as an option in the infield and outfield really help the Phillies right now, I think they don't want him to swing the bat too early and then knock himself out even further. Something like that. There's oblique injuries that the only real solution is rest. And I think that they're going to make sure that he has it this time.
Frank Klose at Frank Klose with a K, 973 Phillies and the Cleveland Indians, the 12-10 Philadelphia Phillies. Looks like they're going to turn the calendar at least 500, which I guess is better than many people thought. We'll see what they can do in the month of May here if they can keep this thing going. The weekend series back at. And another thing impressive, Frank, was not only did are they 2 games over? They sweep the Nationals. They swept them on the road, and they go 5-1 on this road trip. That's a pretty impressive feat for any team, let alone a team that doesn't have a lot of expectations.
Right. In some cases, I think we see some of the flaws that a team like the Nationals has. They're picked to be the NL East favorites. It seems like every year lately, but they haven't really come through. So we definitely see there are some deficiencies in the Nationals roster, and the Phillies took right advantage. The Brewers were not really expected to be that tremendous a team, and it kind of we saw winning 2 out of 3 against the Brewers. The Phillies kind of did what was expected. I picked the Brewers to be a lesser team than the Phillies, and what's going to happen night to night is it's just going to come down to what kind of starting pitching the Phillies give you. They can, if one of their young pitchers can give them a solid start and the batters can squeeze together a few runs, they kind of have a chance to beat anybody. So I think that's one thing that we can take away from this road series is that you just can't count the Phillies out because one of their starters can give you a strong performance. and then only a couple runs make a difference.
Yeah, and you go back to opening day and opening week where they coughed up a couple late leads. This team could be a couple more games over 500. So the baseball team playing well, back this weekend at Citizens Bank Park against the Indians. Frank Klose over at 97.3 ESPN.com. Philadelphia.com, part of Sports Talk Philly here on the Sports Bash. Thanks, Frank. Enjoy the weekend at Citizens Bank Park.
Thanks, Mike.